This is the No More Wasted Days podcast, and we're your hosts, Sarah Kaufman Bradstreet
and Heather PG. Grab your favorite NA drink and listen as we share vulnerable stories so you never feel alone on your alcohol-free journey.
And gain insights from us as we break down our most used tips and strategies that have kept us alcohol-free.
It's time to break free from wasting any more of your days to the drinking, blackout, hangover cycle.
Welcome to another episode of the No More Wasted Days podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sarah.
I'm Heather.
And I am super excited for today's topic because I know a lot of people are doing dry July, and we are bringing you 5 tips to help you in your early alcohol-free journey. I think this is going to be super helpful.
Yes, I think it's a good reminder, no matter where you are on your journey, because it's summertime, people are stressed. I'm talking to myself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I hear you. Me and Heather just got to share how we're doing before we hit record. And both of us mentioned that it's super hot where we are. But Heather tops out. What was the heat index?
176.
That's not even like normal.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's hotter than hell.
It is. It has to be. And I don't know if anybody else's 4-year-old locked themselves in their bedroom on Sunday and then proceeded to the parent, i.e. me, lock ourselves in the bedroom and couldn't get out. I don't know if that happened to anybody. If so, I feel you and I see you. And it's 176 degrees heat index. So these are all really good reminders. As I was getting ready to lead the Daymakers call on Monday, I was like, I can see why people drink when they have 4-year-olds. I wasn't going to drink.
Yeah, right. It would not make it easier.
No.
Oh my gosh. I'm so thankful. I was just thinking the other day that I have teenagers and it's really hard. Okay. But they don't lock themselves in bedrooms, probably because they currently live in a yurt and they don't have that option. But it's like, at least now when they're having a tantrum, it's different. It's not kicking the floor. It's not going crazy in that way. But I never want to go back to the toddler stage, the 4 to 5. Mm-hmm. But I will say, I feel like at 5 years old, when they hit school, things got a little bit easier. It became different. That's what it became.
Yeah. My mantra Sunday was, I just want to go to the bathroom in peace. That was all I wanted.
Yeah. See, my kids do let me do that. Sometimes I'm like, does anybody want to hang out with me? That's more where you become when you have teenagers. You're like, hello, does anybody want to do anything with me? I swear I'm really fun. Even today, I'm like, how can I get my son to come help us on the house build? But yeah, as Heather was saying, though, even if you're farther along on your journey, I think sometimes when you hear like, 5 tips to help you in your early alcohol-free journey, you might be saying, I don't need to listen to this one. I'm farther along. And I always tell people, still listen. And now you're going to hear it in a different way. And you're going to go, okay, I actually do need to do this thing. I haven't done that in a while. Or that's something that I have not even done yet on my alcohol-free journey. So give it a listen with an open mind. And are you ready to dive in?
I'm ready.
All right, let's dive into our tips. Number 1 is get rid of alcohol reminders in your space. Now, this is not necessarily getting rid of alcohol in your space. It could be even thinking about if there's cups in your space that make you feel triggered, like you want to drink when you see that special cup, or if there's just times of day. So we're going to go through a lot of areas in this, but just remember this tip is get rid of alcohol reminders in your space. So my first idea is to donate the triggering items. And I know that Heather had a special cup. So I'm going to let her talk about this.
Yes. I had the most unattractive Halloween cup. I love Halloween. Whatever image was on it was like worn off. And it was orange. It was just ugly, but it was my cup. And it took me a while to throw it away. I threw it away because it wasn't donatable. And it took a lot of courage to do it that I wasn't expecting. And it was really liberating.
Yeah.
To do it. I also love to throw things in the trash, which is just a personality thing, I guess, but it was very liberating.
I'm glad to hear it was liberating because I think it is really scary to get rid of those things. I personally kept alcohol in my house for a very long time. I don't really know how I did it. I think I was very empowered on my alcohol-free journey. It's something I was talking about today in the Daymakers community, that I was just so empowered and felt like I can do this, that I don't want alcohol even. And I know that that is not normal for a lot of people. So if it's not, move that alcohol. If you're like, I can't quite get rid of it, like Heather was saying, it took her a while to get rid of that cup. Move where it is so you don't see it every day. Or if you live with somebody, a roommate, a spouse, ask them, hey, can you move this somewhere so I don't even know where it is? I've done that before with candy with Ryan. I'm like, can you just move this somewhere else and you and the kids can have it? And I gotta have a sugar detox right now. So think about that. Look around. I will say it took me so long to finally get all of the alcohol out of our space, and it felt so awesome when it was finally all gone. I just felt great, and it's really cool, so I recommend doing it much sooner than I did, and I bet Heather feels the same because it sounds like she was very liberated in the process.
Yes, and I wasn't the type of person that could have alcohol in the house, like, or there just wouldn't be any 'cause I drank it all. So,
I know, that's what I hear from a lot of people too, like, "Well, I just didn't have alcohol in the house anyway because I would drink it all." So, I guess I was a little different in that area, but I will tell everybody, like, we had 2 liquor cabinets. Like, we had a lot of wine racks in different spots in our house. It was a little crazy when I look at it, how much we had. So, think about how you can move that. But another way to get rid of those alcohol reminders in your space is to rework your routines, because alcohol is going to pop up in your daily habits. All of a sudden, it's going to be 2:30 p.m. if you're me. At that time, I was always getting done teaching. It was time for all the students to get on the bus, and my brain would start thinking about, are we going to drink today? How much should we drink today? It was like instantaneous that I would start thinking about that. So I had to rework my routines. It looked like taking a different route home. I wasn't a person that even stopped at a liquor store on the way home because you just heard how much liquor I had in my house. I didn't need to. But having just that change of route made my brain feel different, and having a different change of plans, knowing that I was going to get home, I was going to pop in a podcast about quitting drinking, something like this, and I was going to take my dog for a walk. That was not my normal routine. How did you switch up your routines? I know you're going to say in every way.
and yeah, in a lot of ways. So one thing I did was I had to change where I sat in the living room, and I had a little one, so there was a lot of things that I could not change.
Yeah.
So with like when she went to bed, sometimes I would just go to bed. Or if I could come home a different way, I would like stop and get my nails done.
I like that. Do something positive for yourself.
Yeah, and the money that I was saving, I could justify it to myself.
Exactly. And the last thing in the get rid of alcohol reminders in your space is to change your drinks. So if you're going to get rid of all the beers in your fridge, it's time to replace those with something else. I do not always recommend non-alcoholic beers when you're early on your journey because they can actually be really triggering. They were for me. So if
Me
you
too.
find that out, like I tried a friend's non-alcoholic beer and it instantly took me back to the, oh, I wanna drink so many of these. I can't wait
Mhm.
to get drunk. Like, I had that thought right away. Now I can have one. I have, like, half of one now. But just kind of be aware. So I changed my drinks to a fridge full of kombucha, a fridge full of spindrifts, and last week we talked about, or 2 weeks ago, we actually talked about our favorite drinks in our Q&A, but just think about changing up those drinks. Was that a helpful thing for you too in your journey?
Most definitely. And it's funny or interesting that my current drink is kombucha and Olipop, and I only have them on special occasions, and they've been in the fridge for 3 weeks. It's
Right?
just interesting.
Isn't it interesting? I have the same thing sometimes where it's like the kombucha is like it's a high quality drink in my mind because it's more expensive, or we've brewed it and it's a whole event when we brew it in our current living situation. So it's like, oh, it can't be a kombucha a day right now. My tonic water is my lower hanging fruit that I can have daily. It's just kind of like, know that drink that you're going to have. Maybe your routines are staying similar, but you're changing your drink and it'll help your brain. So Let's move on to number 2. I want you to start rethinking your social calendar. This is so important when you're early in your alcohol-free journey. I don't want you to think, "Oh my gosh, now I can't even socialize," because that would be really boring and you would hate your alcohol-free life, okay? I still want you to socialize, but I want you to start thinking about how it's going to look. Maybe the things you're going to do are different. And I also do want you to know, I know I just said, like, you don't have to stop socializing, but I want you to know that it's okay to say no to certain social engagements if they feel too overwhelming.
Yeah, I think it's really important to like still socialize, and you want to be mindful of people and places and things. You'll hear me say a lot that maybe this is not the time to go to that family reunion, or, if you're going back to your old watering hole, for
Mhm.
example, like that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah, it's always I have people say, "The bar is where I hang out." I'm like, "You've gotta change that. Your social calendar, your social life is gonna change in that regard." And
Mhm.
start thinking, are there people at the bar that you hang out with outside of the bar? Which is interesting because a lot of times people say, "No," and they start to realize, "Oh, these are acquaintances. These are not actual friends that I can call and say, 'Hey, let's go for a walk in the park today,' instead of going to the bar. Do you wanna do that with me?" So start looking for those people. But if you do have to go to some things and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, this is feeling a little overwhelming, but safe, I want you to think of a few things. You can pack your own drinks. Do you go anywhere without packing your own drinks now?
No.
I know. Even when I'm going guys, even when I go on a car ride, I've got, like, a cup of coffee with me, or I've grabbed a Spindrift that's gonna be with me. But definitely if I'm going somewhere where I know other people will be drinking, I'm bringing a little cooler with all of my own drinks, because I'm not expecting anybody to have anything without alcohol, because I know I didn't have anything without alcohol. Other thing I want you to think about is your ride home. If you're going with somebody who's maybe going to wanna stay longer than you because they are drinking, think about if you could have a way that you could leave early, have a system with that person, just figure that out. It's very liberating to be able to leave when everybody's getting too drunk and be like, "I've got my own ride home. I'm headed out."
Yes, it is so liberating. And if you're anxious about hurting people's feelings, they're not going to remember or pay attention.
Nope, and that was the 3rd part on that one. Just remember, do not feel bad if you decide to head out early, and if you are feeling a little self-conscious about it beforehand, you could even let the hostess know a reason that you may be leaving early before you even get there. You don't have to be like, "Hey, I'm taking a break from alcohol, and it's gonna get totally weird when everybody's getting drunk, so I'm gonna leave when that happens." You can just say, "I have something happening tomorrow morning. I need to be able to get up early, so I'm gonna have to leave a little early." It does not even have to be a solid reason. The thing you're getting up early for tomorrow morning is to wake up and enjoy life without a hangover. That's good enough.
Absolutely.
So look at that social calendar, feel confident. Don't go to anything that you're feeling too overwhelmed about, but remember those tips that we had. So, on to number 3, create reminders of your why. I don't know if I've talked about your why on, and a why is in quotation marks always when I'm spelling it, or it's all capital letters. But your why is the thing that's always driving you to stay alcohol free. It's what's reminding you, like, why are you doing this? When you wake up in the morning and you make a commitment to yourself to not drink, what is the reason behind it? For me, it's that I love being 100% present for my life. I love showing up authentically as me, and I'm allowed to do that in my alcohol free journey. In the beginning, it was my kids, it was my husband, it was my health, it was other things, but it's grown over time. So write it on post it notes, put it around your house so you see it, put it on the background of your phone screen, and write it out in your journal each day. Do you have a why that you keep near and dear close to your heart?
I have a lot. And one is in an app, and I have a big post it note in my bedroom. It's called HP's Playbook, and it's got a lot of quotes, and it's like my care plan, so to
Yeah.
speak. And there's a lot of whys in there.
I love that. So that's what I want you to think about. It can't be this like glamorous reason, I guess is what I want to say. It needs to be very internal and very you focused, because that's something I work with clients with in the beginning is your why in the beginning is going to be external things, It's
Mhm.
going to be a lot of times people will even say, "I'm quitting drinking because I wanna lose a little weight." And I'm always like, "Well, that's great, but we need to dig a little bit deeper, so why would you maybe wanna lose weight? Okay, maybe it's health focused." So then we can dig deeper on that. Maybe it's mental health focused, maybe it's emotional, and if people say, "Oh, for my kids," okay, that is awesome. I want everybody to feel like they're feeling like a great parent, and cutting out alcohol can help with that, but it will also only take you so far. So how can you bring that more internally? So for me, it is that I feel like I'm being the best parent I can be. So it's not actually for my kids because maybe they're not perceiving it the way I want them to, if that makes sense. So turn it
Yeah.
inward and always be thinking, is this why really focused on me? And I think that one is so important for people who are farther along on their journey. Reconnect to your why all the time. I do it
Yeah.
almost every day.
It's really important. And when I was in leadership teaching other social workers and being taught things in my career, if somebody doesn't tell me why it's important that I do X, Y, and Z, if they just throw an acronym to it and say, we just do this because we have to, I don't understand it. So
Yeah,
I don't understand why it's important. I share that to say, like, it is important to know why, you know, why.
yeah. Why are you doing this?
Don't know. It's a really good opportunity to get really specific about why and really honest with yourself.
And I think too, when you were saying that initially, why are you quitting drinking? It's probably because you're questioning your drinking habits, right?
Mhm.
So then you start digging a little deeper and going, well, why are you questioning your drinking habits? And for me, it's because I was getting blackouts. I was having hangovers where I was having to cancel things. So those two things were I was not present in my life. I wasn't showing up as my most authentic self because I was being really dulled by alcohol. So that's why when I say my why of I'd like to show up and be present for my life, I want to show up and be my most authentic self. That's what that boils down to. Another thing for me was the guilt and the shame I was feeling. And that's very much an emotional health thing, a mental health thing. So that's something that I can always turn inward to and go, oh, I remember that guilt and shame. And I'm so happy I'm free from it. So really think if you're going, well, why am I doing this? Because I feel like maybe I'm drinking too much. Okay, what does that really feel like? And get really specific. I hope that that helped on that one.
For sure.
All right. Number 4 is connect with a community. And Heather and I are always talking about the Daymakers community. And if you are interested in connecting with the Daymakers community, remember we always put the link to our show notes on this. But it's a community where you can connect with like-minded people, and I want you to think about, do you have that in your life? Do you have a community where you can talk to other people who are on an alcohol-free journey, and you can go in there and say, "Hey, I'm really struggling today," or, "Hey, I did this thing today, and it's a first for me. It's the first time I've ever done X, Y, or Z without alcohol," and all those people can cheer for you. It is so important, and I did not have a community in the beginning. So that's why I always tell people, like, it is so important because I felt really alone in the beginning. I did have my husband, but I will tell you, he wasn't feeling nearly as excited about being alcohol free as I was. Like, he was happy that he was alcohol free. He felt some benefits, but he even said a few times, he's like, "It's like your whole world is changing." He's like, "I'm not quite feeling that way." So I had to find that. I found a Facebook group that was out there. I just Googled sober community, alcohol free community. So it's something you can do right there too. But definitely check out the Daymakers community. We're like a little family.
And I want to share that I quit and found it wasn't called Daymakers then. And that was the key.
Yeah.
So you and I have total opposite experiences with that and just to speak on. And another thing about the Daymakers, like there was someone made like this really awesome playlist and I got to listen to it and then add my stuff to it. So it's not just all alcohol free focus, but it all is connected. And then you feel connected to, like you said, like minded folks. And then you learn new things and it's not always about self improvement. It could just be anything, really.
Yeah. But it definitely makes you feel less alone on the journey because it can feel really overwhelming in the beginning. You feel like you are the only person questioning your drinking, and you go through a little phase where you feel a little angry that you have to like, I'm so angry that I'm not a person who can have just one drink and settle down after that. Well, when you have a community, you can actually say, I am feeling so angry about the fact that I'm realizing I can't moderate. Did anybody else have this? And all of a sudden they say, oh, yeah, I felt that. I remember that. So check out the Daymakers if you are saying, man, I don't have this community. I need it. Another thing you can do is look up sober meetups in your area. There's the Sober City movement, and a lot of people have different Instagram profiles that are like sober in New York, sober in Seattle. There's one here that's sober in Tacoma, sober in Olympia. There's more and more starting to show up. And people say, hey, let's have a meetup at this specific park. We'll all meet and hang out for the afternoon. So you can actually meet real live people because I love online communities. It's very much what I gravitate to first. But if you can have some in-person people who are also alcohol free, it is so helpful. Have you ever done a sober meetup? I haven't actually done one yet.
I have not. I have it on the list of things to do. It sounds exciting to me. For example, I was talking to a friend this morning about I love music trivia. I don't want to go to a bar.
Yeah.
So that's an opportunity to find it without a whole lot of folks who are intoxicated.
Yeah, I know. I've been really wanting to join a trivia team. I want to do that. So I keep telling my husband, I want to do trivia. We need a team. We got to figure this out because that is my jam. But they are always all at a bar. So I am kind of like I got to have some sober people on my team so I'm not feeling like, oh, this is I just go to a bar. And also I feel like if the focus is different, the focus is being on the trivia team, and you're probably going to be better at trivia if you're not drinking.
Hands down.
Yeah. And I'm doing a sober retreat in September. It's getting super close, but I'm so excited. Like we have an Instagram message thread right now. So we're all kind of getting to know each other before we show up in Lake Tahoe. But there are things out there. So Google it, check it out. And if you want to go beyond that, you're kind of like, that sounds good. Doing a little sober meetup also sounds a little overwhelming. Like maybe I have to socialize and that just freaks me out. Look at meetings, look at AA. I know sometimes you're like, oh, that's not for me. I don't want to do it for whatever reason. I was that person. But I will tell you, you're going to meet people who don't drink at AA. So even if you go to a few meetings just to connect with people, that's great. There's also Dharma recovery and smart recovery. So there's other things that are not AA. So look into those. Have you done any of those? I can't remember.
Yeah, I was with the luckiest club forever. I say
Okay.
forever, like a year and a half, 2 years. And it was super, super helpful. So I had 2.
Nice. So find those different things you can do. Figure out how you can actually link arms with people that don't drink in person and online. So you have a community that's always in your pocket. And feel free to check out that link in the show notes and also check out the link in the show notes for one on one coaching with Heather. Because sometimes you're like, I need more than a group, I need one person to really keep me accountable.
Yeah, and I offer different memberships, so to speak, on one of those text and email resources paired with one-on-one. So if you feel itchy, you can text or what have you. So it just kind of helps ground and we can do accountability or whatever type support that you need.
Yeah, we got you covered. So check it out. And also, you can just use Heather and me as your community too. You can always just binge listen to the No More Wasted Days podcast, and we can be
Right?
your little community in your ear as you're doing chores. So, all right, we are to number 5 for our tips. This is my favorite one. I feel like, oh, this is just so who I am. Number 5, set goals. Do you know this about me, Heather, that I love setting goals?
I do. I really, really do. It's contagious.
You know what? It's like I feel as though people quit drinking and they'll even tell me, "Man, I didn't even have dreams for myself before. I didn't set goals before. And now I'm on this journey and my first goal was to be alcohol free, but you're teaching me now how to have other goals in mind of self-improvement and just bettering my life." So, first goal, hands down, well, for me, you take it or leave it always with what I say, but track your alcohol-free days and have little goals you're moving forward to. For me, it was 30 days, then 60, then 75, then 100, then 150. I just kept being like, okay, now I'm to the next goal. Now I'm to the next goal. Now I'm just tracking my years, but still set those alcohol-free day goals. I know you tracked your days in the beginning.
Oh, I still do.
Yeah.
And at this point, like each year, I reward myself with tattoos.
I just love that. I need to do that because my tattoo's feeling very lonely on its arm, and it also needs some coloring. Like, it's
Yeah,
just not even quite
it
done.
needs a friend.
It does. So I'm like, figure out a way to reward yourself when you hit the goals, and it can be whatever that looks like for you. But I do tell people, keep track of how much money you're saving. Then you don't
Yes.
feel so bad when you're like, oh, I'm going to buy this tattoo, but I have kids, or I'm going to go on this vacation, but I shouldn't be spending this money on myself or my family. You're saving a lot of money by not drinking.
Mhm.
So set those day goals. You say, at 30 days, I'm going to treat myself to a massage. At 60 days, I'm going to buy myself a new outfit. Like, set those goals and reward yourself. Then start thinking beyond that. Have new goals for yourself. In the Daymakers community, we actually have a habit tracker, and you can set 2 personal goals each month if you want to. 2 personal habits is what we call them, because really you're just trying to track and see, am I doing this? Am I showing up in this area? And then you can even reevaluate and say, that one's just not that important to me. Or that one went so well, I'm going to keep going on that one. I just think it is so important to think, what do I want for myself in my alcohol free life? How can I turn that into a goal? And then how can I track it? So use a paper habit tracker where you're just marking each day where you do the goal, or look at different apps. There's one called Habit Share, but there are a ton of other ones. If you look up habit tracking apps, do your research and figure out which one's best for you.
I think that is so cool that we do that. And like, it's going to sound really nerdy and I don't think about it. I'm not too concerned, but like, I get pumped about a new month.
Me
And
too.
I print my sheet out because I'm just that way. And I look
Mhm.
at my sheet and I get excited about the 2 habits. And it's so life giving.
Yeah, and we have in our habit tracker that we use in the Daymakers, we have other habits that I truly believe support your alcohol-free life. So the first is you're tracking, were you alcohol-free that day? Then it's movement, doing 30 minutes of some sort of movement, but go on a walk, do something that benefits you. Dance, do an online workout, whatever works for you. Meditation is another one that we do, gratitudes, affirmations, and drinking water. Then after that, you get to set 2 personal goals if you want to. I've had months where I have taken off that part of my habit tracker. I've just folded it
Me
in
too.
half and been like, "Nope, no personal things this month. I'm just trying to do the basics." So, use that to help you out if that's something, but really start thinking about those goals because, oh my gosh, they just keep you motivated. They keep you going, "Oh my gosh, look at this thing that I do now that's like a normal routine in my life that I used to never do." It's very, very motivating. Those are my 5 things. I hope that was super helpful. I tried to come up with ones that aren't the typical ones that you would hear everywhere, so you can kinda go, "Okay, I'm gonna put that one in or use it here."
Yeah, I think it's super helpful if you already know this, and I know a lot of it, and it's good to hear it today. Like, I
Yeah,
needed to hear it.
I know, because even on when we're talking habit tracker, I feel like the past 2 days have been really hard for me, and I had this moment where I looked and I was marking things off going, "God, I missed, like, a lot of the things yesterday." I was like, "It doesn't matter. Just reset. Now you're at the 10th day of the month. Keep going." So, all right. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating. It helps so, so much in the podcast algorithm.
And share it with a friend if you think that would be helpful. And Sarah always puts our social media handles in the show notes.
Yes.
And check out the links for the Daymakers and one-on-one coaching and keep going.
Yeah. And we will be with you next week on Tuesday.
That's right. Bye, y'all.